Chat was poppin' YouTube. Today we once again don't have a proper classic to review, but we do have a cult classic with Douglas Adams's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So this is a classic British sci-fi comedy, first published in 1979 and based on Douglas Adams' radio drama of the same name. This book is hella iconic, and you will have certainly seen some slightly bloated English white guy quote it to you on one occasion or another, so let's just get into it. So the story opens on Arthur Dent, not to be confused with Harvey Dent. He's an English lad, and right now the city council is getting ready to demolish his house so they can build a new motorway bypass. Arthur is not too thrilled with this predicament, as you'd imagine, but the council guy tells him that they had posted about this months ago in the town hall or something, and that he should have appealed it if he'd wanted to. But anyway, Arthur pulls an unemployed liberal arts student on them and lies down in front of the bulldozers. However, his mate Ford Prefect comes along and takes him out to the pub because it turns out that a Vogon demolition fleet has shown up in orbit to demolish the Earth so they can build a universal highway bypass. As you'd imagine, the human race isn't too thrilled with this predicament, but the Vogons inform them that they had left star signs or some such for months now, and that they could have appealed it if they wanted to. Absolutely uncanny.
Again, it's like poetry, sort of they rhyme.
So luckily, it turns out that Ford Prefect is actually an alien in disguise, working for the company that publishes The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
Because of this world-shattering revelation, he and Arthur managed to hitchhike with the Vogons.
Because the clue is in the fucking name!
So anyway, the Earth gets destroyed, and now Arthur and Ford are stuck on board the Vogon ship. Ford has a copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and gives it to Arthur to read, so we, the audience, get all sorts of useful exposition throughout the story. And he also gives him a babblefish, which is a little fish that sits in his brain or something and translates alien languages. So a great little plot device. The Vogons aren't too happy about this predicament, and they decide to torture them with some of their banger poetry, then shoot them at the airlock. However, while all this has been happening, we had been introduced to the absolute giga-chad called Zaphod Beeblebrox, who is basically the president of the galaxy.
Is this your car?
Yes.
Well, you know what? I'm buying it. I need it fast. I'm buying it.
You're buying my car.
Here's a check.
He is the charismatic, completely corrupt and ceremonial head of the Imperial Galaxy, and is basically a walking vessel for some basic anti-government satire. Anyway, Zaphod has 2 heads and 3 arms, and was basically a TV personality who shocked everyone by running for president. Wait.
These are your kids?
Yeah.
I'm buying them too. I'm buying your kids too.
But yeah, he's heading over to unveil a slick new spaceship called the Heart of Gold, which is actually the entire reason he ran for president in the first place. He is great at being on camera, and is a real showman, which is fantastic, because the whole point of the president is to be a distraction from where the real power actually is. Wait. I'm pretty sure this is fiction, guys, I promise.
Hello, kids. I just bought you.
Who are you?
Anyways, he gets to the Heart of Gold and gets ready to give a banger speech to the news media. You know, he's all with his human side piece called Trillian, and then goes off script immediately. As the Heart of Gold is unveiled, he says, "Wow, that is really amazing. That really is truly amazing. That is so amazingly amazing that I think I'd like to steal it." And then he lobs a stun grenade at the crowd and does just that. What a hoot of a president.
Look, here's $12,000. That'll take care of your fear. Don't have fear.
So Trillian and her 2 pet mice come with him, and on the ship they meet the edgelord robot called Marvin the Paranoid Android. Try saying that 5 times when you're drunk. Marvin is basically that one kid in your intro to philosophy class that is, really nihilistic and depressed all the time.
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
And, Zaphod and the gang set off across the galaxy. Now, the Heart of Gold is powered by the postmodern invention called an improbability drive, which makes improbable things happen.
Because the clue is in the fucking name!
One of these improbable things is that he manages to pick up Ford and Arthur's bodies floating in the vacuum before they die. So anyway, they get saved. They see all sorts of weird, wacky postmodern things like monkeys who have written a draft of Hamlet. Get it? It's like the joke, guys. It's like the philosophy joke about monkeys writing Shakespeare. You should really laugh at this very high IQ, funny, obscure joke that I definitely made up because it's really funny. You guys want to laugh at this joke because if you don't get it, it means you're dumb. And we don't like dumb people in liberal fiction. Anyway. And yeah, they meet Zaphod, who Ford is hyped about because they're like half cousins or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, but Arthur meets Trillian, who he recognises as this chick he was trying to pick up at a fancy dress party a few weeks back. I actually think this was mentioned earlier, but it's been like a year since I read this book, so I'm actually really dredging it up. But anyway, she got stolen off of him by a dude dressed as an alien who turned out to be none other than Zaphod Beeblebrox the whole time. Wait, so this nutter was just on Earth in fancy dress parties when he was supposed to be running the galaxy? No, the president would never have a party while there's a public crisis going on, would he? Wait.
Will the Prime Minister tell the House whether there was a party in Downing Street on the 13th of November?
No, but I'm sure that whatever happened,
Anyway, as it turns out, Zaphod wants the harder goal to find this magic bullshit planet called Magrathia. Basically, Magrathia was the richest planet ever, so rich that everyone else ended up poor. They designed planets for a living, and because of a recession, the entire planet went into stasis to wait it out. However, it is basically impossible to find, so they needed to get the improbability drive. Sort of like the island in Pirates of the Caribbean. So anyway, they get there and try to break in, but it turns out that the Magrathians are awake now because... Alright, buckle up. The Earth is actually a supercomputer commissioned by a bunch of extra-dimensional entities in order to calculate the meaning of life, the universe, and everything in it. These extra-dimensional entities manifest as mice in reality, and in fact they've been doing this experiment on us the whole time while tricking us into believing that we were doing experiments on them. A long time ago they built a computer to discover the meaning of life, the universe, and everything in it, but then got into an argument about it because they were actually philosophers by trade, and if that answer was ever answered, they would all be out of jobs. However, they realised it would take like 7 million years to calculate, and so they realised that they could just make a living out of just discussing that whole question. But then the computer told them that the answer was 42, but it had been so long they actually couldn't remember the exact question they asked in the first place, to which 42 was now the answer, so they had to commission the Magrathians to build them the Earth, which was actually designed to figure out what the original question was. However, the Vogons had destroyed it 5 minutes before it would have come up with the answer, so now they need a new computer built. However, Trillian's pet mice realised that Arthur's brain probably has the calculations in it, and so now they need his brain. However, before they can get it, a bunch of policemen show up to arrest Zaphod, and they get into a scrap. However, Marvin had been speaking to the policeman's spaceship's computer about his outlook on life, and because of it, it decided to commit suicide. The policemen all then died because of their life support was hooked up to the computer, and yeah, hope you got all that. The gang then escape from the mice and the planet-building people and run off towards the restaurant at the end of the universe and a bunch of other books I've never read. The end. So, this book is whack, but where do I even start? So this book is extremely postmodern. It's written in the era where postmodern art, and especially comedy, was really prevalent, especially in England, and as such it has a lot of very heavy-handed philosophical undertones, a lot of zaniness. I personally kind of enjoy just completely absurd comedy, but if you don't, this book probably is not for you. It also has a lot of still relevant political satire about the state of government and the general day-to-day problems and issues we all have with bureaucrats, which makes the book endearing to all audiences. It has those kind of timeless themes and jabs that, actually age kind of well, which is super fun. Things like Zaphod Beeblebrox being purely a figurehead and the demolition scenes are all great examples of this. However, despite being a comedy book, I didn't actually find too much of it to be that funny. I laughed maybe once. The rest was just sort of mildly amusing. I find other British comedy writers such as Terry Pratchett to be far more funny than Douglas Adams, but that's more of a personal taste. If you like Monty Python's style of humour or Terry Pratchett's, you'll probably enjoy this book a lot. In fact, I actually think one of the biggest missed opportunities in English history is the fact that Monty Python never actually adapted this. Yeah, so Zaphod Beeblebrox is an amazing character. Everything about him works. The satire especially is fantastic, when you consider that the Americans literally elected Zaphod Beeblebrox a few years ago. But I find most of the other characters to be very lacking. The book also lacks a solid structure and feels very disjointed and rather amateur because of it. I would struggle to apply the 3-act structure to this. I also feel like the lengths the book goes to be postmodern just make me kind of not really care about it, or the characters. There is not enough serious character moments to ground the story. Arthur should be much more somber given this, his entire planet was destroyed, but as such the whole thing just adopts the nothing matters lol look at this zany shit that modern entertainment seems to have adopted. In many ways it's like a proto Rick and Morty, but like not the first 2 seasons of Rick and Morty where it's actually good, like I'm talking like the later ones. Overall, probably 4 out of 5. It's very enjoyable, extremely iconic, and has truly timeless themes and commentary that has aged like a fine wine. However, I feel it lacks focus, any serious character moments, and falls on postmodernism as a crutch more than an actual comedy device. I would highly recommend everybody checks this out, though. It has to be one of the greatest novels of the 20th century. Very influential novel at any rate. And it's not even that long, so yeah, give it a read, if you can find a copy. And thank you for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and a subscribe, and if you didn't, have an argue with me in the comments about why you didn't like it or something. It'll help you with the algorithm. And if you want to read another masturbatory postmodern book with political undertones, you can read mine. Thanks.
Buy my book. Buy my book before it's too late, people.
Birdseye